If you get deported, do you lose your property? Let me ask you a question that scares a lot of people. If someone owns property in the United States and later gets deported, do they automatically lose that property? A lot of people think the answer is yes, but they're wrong. All right, let's clear up a common fear. I get this question all the time. If someone has a green card, owns property in the US, and later gets deported, do they lose the house? Short answer, no. Deportation does not automatically take away property. So let's break this down calmly and clearly because there is a lot of misinformation out there. Property ownership is not a citizenship right, it's a property right. That means you do not need to be a US citizen to own real estate, and you don't lose ownership just because your immigration status changes. Even non citizens can legally own property in the United States. So if someone buys a house, land, or an investment property and later gets deported, the title does not disappear and the government does not just take it. Ownership stays. Now, here's where people get confused. Just because ownership stays does not mean everything is easy. There's a difference between legal ownership and practical reality. Legally, the owner can still sell the property, they can still rent it out, they can still collect rent, they can still transfer ownership. That doesn't change. But practically, things get harder. Once someone is deported, they may not be able to return to the US. They can't easily show up to court, manage tenants, deal with banks, or handle repairs in person. So here's the key point. Ownership is protected, management is the risk. Now, if this was helpful, like the video and subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but because this kind of information actually matters. Now let's talk about another big fear. Does deportation ever cause property to be taken? Deportation alone does not cause forfeiture. The only time property can be seized is through a separate legal process. Usually it's tied to criminal activity. Things like fraud, money laundering, drug trafficking, and even then, the government has to prove it in court. If someone is deported for visa issues or administrative immigration reasons, their property is not automatically at risk. Here's the part people don't understand. Even if someone is deported, the bills don't stop. Property taxes still have to be paid, mortgage payments still apply, HOA dues and insurances still apply. This is how people actually lose property, not because of deportation, but because payments stop. If taxes aren't paid, the county can take the property, and if the mortgage isn't paid, the lender can foreclose. So the real danger is not immigration status, the real danger is having no plan. If deportation is even a remote possibility, planning matters. First, have a US-based power of attorney, someone who can sign, sell, and handle issues on your behalf. Second, use a professional property management company, especially for rentals. Third, consider proper entity structure like an LLC or a trust to make continuity easier. Fourth, keep US banking stable and compliant with updated contact information. And finally, have an exit plan. Ask yourself, if I had to sell this property from outside the United States, could I do it smoothly? If the answer is no, that's a problem. Now, one important reminder before we wrap up, every situation is going to be different. So always consult an immigration attorney, a real estate attorney, or a qualified real estate professional before making any decisions. Laws vary by state and details matter. Don't rely on internet videos alone, including this one. So let's kill the biggest myth of all. If you get deported, the government automatically takes your house. That is false. What actually happens is people panic, they don't plan, they miss payments and miss deadlines, then they lose a property. Not because of deportation, but because of lack of structure. So here's the takeaway. Green card holders can own property, non-citizens can own property, deportation does not cancel ownership, and the government does not automatically seize property. Ownership is protected and preparation is everything. Now, if this helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not to sell them anything, just to replace the fear with facts. And I will see you guys in the next video.